Dear Heavenly Father, we come to you today to lift up our schools in prayer. I pray that this time of meeting would be fruitful and that through it the students of this county would be benefited. I pray for all of our teachers, administrators, and board members, that you would give them all grace, wisdom, patience, and love for the young minds which you have placed under them to mold. I pray for the students, that they would learn and grow while under the care of this school system. I pray that they could increase in knowledge, but I also pray that they could learn about you and your love for them by means of your people whom you have placed in various positions in accordance with your design and will. Now, Lord, let this meeting begin and be used for the betterment of the children of this community. I pray all these things in the precious name of Jesus. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. I call to order and welcome you to the Bradley County Board of Education regular meeting for June the 8th, 2023. We've got a few people in attendance that I would like to recognize. We have Sheriff Steve Lawson. Are there any commissioners here tonight? There's Commissioner Jeannie Collins, and I think the rest are on vacation. So at this time, we'll do the pledge to the flag to be led by Miss Vicki Beatty.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I think the case is good.
I'm glad to be back.
As you should.
The next item on our agenda is the consent agenda. And Dr. Lovingood has requested that we move item number 15 up on the agenda because he is going to have to leave to go close out Bible school at his church tonight. So we're going to move item number 15 to right below item number 8. So we will do item number 15 after item 8. Are there anything that anyone would like to pull from the consent agenda? If not, other than moving item number 15 under item number 8, do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I've got a motion and I've got a second by Ms. Goins. There's not any discussions. Miranda, will you please call the roll?
Yes, Mr. Taylor.
Yes.
Ms. Lee.
Yes.
Ms. Beatty.
Yes.
Ms. Kaysen.
Yes.
Ms. Goins.
Yes.
Mr. Bryson.
Yes.
Dr. Lovingood.
Yes.
7 yes, 0 no, motion passes.
Thank you. The next item is persons requesting to address the board. Has anyone signed up? No one signed up. Next item is the Director of Schools report. Dr. Lynn Cash.
Thank you. I would like to draw your attention to the board. We really want to have some praises and shouts for the academic work of our third grade and actually our K-1-2 who got us to this. So, but we are also going to back up and celebrate our graduations. I think it's important to know that Bradley Central High School graduated 365 students, Bradley County Virtual School 32, Gold Academy 22, and Walker Valley 331. So total for this district, we graduated and had 750 students walk across the stage. So that is amazing. The next thing I think is extremely important is the number of scholarships that were given. This report does not include those who were going into workforce and others, but we wanted to let you know that Bradley Central High School, you can see $8,497,892. That is a remarkable amount for those young boys and girls. Bradley County Virtual, $997,200, and Walker Valley High School, $7,701,535, for a total for our district, $17,196,627 that our students earned from our schools, and I think that's a celebration. I know there's been just a tremendous amount of talk about third grade, the third grade law, and how Bradley County and other counties did on the third grade. And remember, these are only grades for third grade. It does not include anything other than that. But with Bradley County Schools, we actually accelerated our growth, and I wanted you to know specifically that third grade only, we were in the top 20% in the state for the kids who were approaching and proficient. We were ranked 27 out of 142 in the state of Tennessee. This one, we had the highest number of students with proficiency in systems surrounding Bradley County. Those are not just your approaching kids, they're the ones that hit proficiency. We had the highest number of students that took advantage of the retest opportunities surrounding systems, and the highest percentage of those retaking the test to achieve proficiency. The smallest, this is so exciting for me, the smallest number of students in the below category in systems surrounding Bradley County. And that means those are the kids that are in the below category. We had the lowest, but even more important, when we took the retest, we went from 15% of our students being in that bottom category to 6%. 6% of our kids being in that low. Which says to me, we're moving all students. And when we talk about students, we talk about all students and what we can do for all of those students. Just a little, for me, just letting you know that it is the work of our administrators, our teachers who pour their hearts out every day, and who are planning and studying what to teach the kids and doing the interventions. And so just very proud of this system and what we did. And if y'all have any questions, I will be more than glad to take those, but I just thought y'all would like to hear those.
Chairman Lee.
No, go ahead.
Well, I just want to say how exciting this news is and how proud I am as a school board member and living in Bradley County, having a granddaughter, of course, as all of you know, in Bradley County schools. And I want to thank, the teachers and the students and the parents and the administrative staff that have made this possible. The second thing that really stands out to me is when you look at that below category and you look over not just this year, but last year and the year before, you have seen that decrease of percentages with those subcategories like special education. Of course, that is dear to my heart. And I just want to say thank you to everyone, and under the leadership of Dr. Linda Cash, we have just done a great job for the school system and for our children. So, thank you.
Dr. Cash, let me echo that, Ms. Beatty, what you just said. What was the process of getting us better, going from 20% to 7%? Is there something that the state can glean from
We're
that?
just good.
I know it, but usually when the ball team does great, then everybody wants to do that well.
Thank you, Dr. Lovigan. I want to give a shout out to our instructional coaches, a shout out to our interventionists who tackle it head on. If they see a kid slipping, it's not let's wait and see. It's immediate interventions. It is consistency. It is training, and it is implementation. And you can go into every elementary school in Bradley County and you can see the consistency and the intentionality of teaching what we need to teach those students to do to learn. And it's our special ed kids, our EL kids, it's all kids. And you can walk in and see everybody on board doing what they need to be doing. But from the central office staff, it's pushing people in to assist and support and train. And honestly, it's looking at our benchmark data and going, okay, this one's not moving the way we need them to move. What's our plan? So it is constantly seeing where are we and where do we need to go and setting those goals. So if I had to tell anybody what I wanted a long time ago, I said I need to be able to walk in every elementary school, middle and high, and see the same high-level instruction with the same high-quality material, and that's what you see now.
Well, I think it's crucial. I think it's just important for us to share that across the area, and not just to brag on our system, which we have a lot to brag about. You and the teachers and the principals, it's just for us to learn from being intentional. and that intentionality is so crucial to education and the relationships with principals, teachers, and students. With that intentionality, I think, just breeds success.
And I'm all in that.
And Dr. Lovingood, I think that Dr. Cash said this in a roundabout way, but I think it's the expectation of excellence. And I think that is generated from this office and the administrative staff and the teachers and through Dr. Cash. Because when you expect higher, you get higher.
Right.
And I think that that is a big piece of it. And I have heard people say that Dr. Cash can get to, we need to do this, this, and this. And then when we get here, she will come back and say, oh, but maybe we can go a little higher and do this. So I think that high expectation has paid off.
And the other thing that I will add is our teachers, our staff, our administrators build relationships with all these students. And so when they're building those relationships, those students begin to trust them, and they will actually work and believe in themselves because those teachers and administrators believe in them.
Well, I think you're spot on. I think when students know that you care and that you have their best interest in mind, and there's that relationship with the principal and teacher as well as the director and the staff, you know, with intentionality, with excellence in mind, it's amazing what can happen.
I think it's definitely a testament to, you know, I've heard people say that if you work in Bradley County, you work harder than you do in other districts. And there's a reason why. And I think that this is a testament to, if you work harder, then the reward is, we are in the top 20% in the state. And I think that is something extremely proud, that these teachers should be extremely proud of. And, you know, hard work pays off, and in this case, it definitely did. Yes, sir.
I always, because I was a teacher in Bradley County Schools and a principal, and we worked hard then, and they worked really hard today, and the teachers and the students and the parents definitely need to work. But I'm here to say to people that Dr. Cash would be if her scores were down, she'd be the one we'd be looking to criticize, and we need to make sure that she's applauded for her efforts. She got all these people where they're supposed to be, and they did the work, and I think she's to be commended, as Vicki and the doctor said. So I appreciate what you do. We all do.
Yeah, Madam Chairman, I do want to point out, this is just third grade, and it's not. That's
all right, we're going forward to
Okay.
Well, if they don't get past 30, they can't go forward.
That's true, that's true.
Yeah.
All right, if there is nothing else, we will move on to item number 7, the summer school update. Ms. Elizabeth Taylor.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Oh, sorry, I'll come back to that, I'm sorry. Okay. I apologize.
You want to do that? I can sit back down.
No, go
You
ahead.
good? Okay. So we have a theme for our summer school this year, Let's Make a Splash. And so that means there's going to be lots of water activities that are integrated in science experiments and other learning opportunities, and then a big water day to end our summer camp. So that's why you see the graphic here. It's a Monday through Thursday program throughout the month of June. So that's 16 complete days for students to experience. And although you hear me talking about all these fun things, there is definitely an emphasis on reading and math that is a daily part of the program.
And and we've been to all of the camps, and I can tell you that it's, I mean, they're having a great time, and it's fun, but it's a lot of people doing a lot of really good work again. The planning's done, everything's done. There is one thing, this is our academic month, so if you have questions for Mrs. Taylor, we'll take those, and then we'll show you our video that will be released for academics.
So we have two locations where our elementary school grades are located, and this is Rising Kindergarten. So I will just point out, that means these are students who haven't yet attended our schools but are registered to be with us in August, entering kindergarten. So Rising Kindergarten through Rising 6th grade, and you can see the schools are divided between one of two locations, either at Black Fox or at North Lee. And then our middle schoolers, that's Rising 7th grade through Rising 9th grade. Those students are at the Pie Center. So those are students both from Lake Forest and from Ocoee. And this gives you a breakdown of the totals of students who are participating. So you can see by each site, but it rounds off to about 330 students that are participating in summer learning opportunities in the month of June. And just to follow up a little of what Dr. Cash was referencing with our third grade retention law, we only have 10 students who are actually required to participate. These other students are participating because they want to grow, they want to excel. This is an opportunity for them to close gaps, but only 10 fell into the have to category of that law. So out of about 750 third graders, that's a pretty incredible number.
Very
Yes, it is. That's it. Any questions you all have for me? All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bradley County Schools has a strong commitment to setting the bar high for students and teachers in order to achieve academic excellence. We hold ourselves and each other accountable for the success of each student in our care. We believe that all children can learn and grow when given the opportunity and access to high-quality instructional materials and educational experiences.
In Bradley County Schools, we are passionate about literacy. From reading aloud with students at home, from birth to 5, we know how important that is and how much we value that, to teachers and how well they instruct students in those literacy skills in the early years, building that strong foundation for reading. But we also understand that reading is just one part of being a literate person, having good literacy skills. Literacy involves reading, writing, speaking, and listening, and we want to make sure that we're building all of those things in our students.
Our teachers design task-based instruction lessons every day for our students to explore mathematics, to represent mathematics with models and manipulatives, and really construct their thinking and their solution methods. Our students are tremendous problem solvers. It doesn't matter what challenging problem that we give them, a real-world problem based in context, our students start attacking it and thinking about solutions to the problems. There are no better mathematicians than those in Bradley County Schools.
Bradley County Schools has been an innovator in college and career readiness. We are taking proactive steps to give students the knowledge and skill sets to be successful in whichever career path they choose. We are building the future leaders and workforce of our amazing community. When you raise the bar high, students will rise to the occasion.
And thank you, and we appreciate that. That will be posted and go out. We just wanted to be sure you saw it, and we truly believe that our kids can do anything. We put it out there, they rise to the occasion, teaching them to struggle through and not to give up. That's part of it, is that confidence that I can keep going. So thank you to all our teachers and instructional staff and administrators. We really appreciate you. Thank you.
All right, the next item on the agenda is item number 8, Bradley County Sheriff's Office lease at the Pie Innovation Center. Mr. Kyle Page and Sheriff Steve Paulson.
Sheriff Lawson.
So thank you, Board, for the opportunity to speak with you all. And we have been talking with the Sheriff's Office for some time, Sheriff Lawson, and about how some collaboration and partnership could work. We appreciate their services. Obviously, we have an SRO already on site with Goal, but just the foot traffic of the Sheriff's Office, and you know how busy that site is, the foot traffic, just kind of having some presence there. We kind of opened that door a few months back and just bounced that off and have been looking at what that might look like. So I'll let Sheriff Lawson and Officer Pike speak, but we're excited about this partnership coming together.
And I'm going to let Zach tell you what all he's doing in the office that will make it good for the officers, good for y'all to have a presence there as far as an officer in and out. I think it's a good partnership, and I'll preface it with this. I went to the Sheriff's Association yesterday and talked about the SRO funding. And I think here in this county, sometimes we lose sight of what we have. Because people take for granted this is the way it is across the state. It's not the way it is across the state, believe me. Some law enforcement in the school systems never communicate, nor do they. And it's like yesterday, I picked up the phone. Linda will tell you I gave her a call, and the same vice versa. We respect each other. We communicate. If we have a problem, nobody generally hears about it. We get it worked out and we move on. And that's the way we are. And I think we're heads above the rest. And I've been listening to all your presentations here. And I'm grateful to live in this county, grateful to be served by this school district. And we believe we have some of the best SROs in the state of Tennessee. I dedicated this whole summer to training. SROs, generally, they're placed on another job to complement the Sheriff's Office. I'm not saying one will have to be moved but daily we're training. I was looking at the list before I came to see what schools we're training in next week. So that's a good thing. So get better, better, better. Some funding is coming. Some funding from the state. I can guarantee you it's coming. It's going to help us out countywide. It's going to help my officers overall out with salaries. And the county commission has been addressing that. So now I'm going to let Zach tell you. If you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer them. But I'll let Zach tell you. And I appreciate the partnership. Appreciate the partnership here tonight. Appreciate the partnership overall with all the principals and the dialogue we have. And appreciate the passing.
Madam Chair, may I speak for? I just want to really talk about the close relationship that we have with the Sheriff Department and the schools that value their SROs. I mean, the SROs become a part of their family. But most importantly, when we need something, they are the first to jump in, and I can call and say, Sheriff Lawson, can you help me with X? And he'll say, yes ma'am, give me a minute, I'll get back with you. And they have never failed to come when I've called or needed something. And that is not the way it is across the state. I can tell you it's a struggle with some districts to, one, have SROs in every building, which we appreciate that so much, that is part of your budget, and we appreciate that. But most importantly, we appreciate the cooperation we have with you, and we're excited about the funding that is coming from the state that will help you and help our schools to do more. And just want to say thank you. And it is, and most of you know, we had an intruder drill yesterday at the Pye Center, and I got to step back and watch the officers at work. They are well trained, they are serious, and they take safety at the highest level. That's their whole cause, their whole point is safety. And I was impressed, and I thank you for that.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Some of you I know, some of you I don't. My name is Zach Pike. First of all, I just want to say I'm very thankful for the opportunity, for the continued partnership with the Pye Center. There's several different values that I can see throughout this partnership, and a couple of them are, as the Pye Center was being constructed, we had numerous incidents where when it wasn't occupied, people weren't there all the time, some things would come up missing, and several of those I responded myself a few years back working with Mr. Page, and as it got occupied, those cut down. But we want to continue to protect that huge asset that we have. And I think by having us there, it increases the visibility of law enforcement being in that area. But not only that, it's a very central location for us. So the county is pretty much broken up into 4 quadrants for patrol officers, north, south, east, and west. And at that location, they can respond quickly to any call that may come in. Or if they've responded to a call and they have a large amount of paperwork, it's an area they can respond to centrally, maybe to get some paperwork done and get back to their zone instead of coming all the way to the south end to the Justice Center and then having, if you got a north zone car who's got to go all the way to the Justice Center and have an emergency call and have to go all the way back to the north end. This will cut down on a lot of that and also hopefully curtail some of the any mischief that may go on there during the nighttime hours, daytime hours, whenever it's not occupied. So there are a couple things that I just want to talk about, some things that we won't be doing when we're there, and a couple of things that we won't be bringing suspects there to interview, okay, or defendants or anything like that. We won't be bringing evidence there to process. We'll be bringing no kind of evidence, no kind of seized narcotics, nothing like that will be taken there. This will be just a place where a patrol deputy or myself or the sheriff or anyone else can go to if they need to have a quick meeting, a place where a few of us can gather. Ms. Cannon and Mr. Page let me look at a handful of the offices, and we picked the best one that we thought would suit us the best, where we could have a little bit more than a couple people. A handful of people could gather in the room if we needed to. We're already making preparations. Ms. Cannon's already ordered some of the furniture for us, and we've already got a computer ready to go up there. So we're making progress as we go along because we want to be in there as quick as we can. I've also been in touch with Scotty Hernandez. He and I used to work together at the sheriff's office, so we've been talking about how we're going to go in and out, some security measures of how we would do that. If we're given a passcode, we may change it every so many months. That way that passcode's not being shared overly, and then people, how the word of mouth travels, and we may change those passwords, or we may do a key fob system. So we're still in the works with that. I talked to Scotty, matter of fact, yesterday during the training event at the Pie Center. So I think this is a great opportunity. It shows the partnership that the sheriff's office has with the school system, and I'm pretty excited about the opportunity.
Does anyone have any questions? If there are no questions, do I have a motion to approve the tie lease with the Riley County Sheriff's Department?
I make a motion to approve the sheriff's commitment to Bradley County Schools.
All right, I've got a motion by Mr. Bryson and a second by Dr. Lovingood. Are there any discussions or comments? If not, Miranda, will you call the roll?
Yes, Ms. Cason?
Yes.
Ms. Beatty?
Yes.
Mr. Bryson?
Yes.
Ms. Lee?
Yes.
Mr. Taylor?
Yes.
Dr. Lovingood?
Yes.
Ms. Owens?
Yes.
7 yes, 0 no, motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank
We
you.
appreciate you.
Thank you.
All right, the next item on the agenda is we're going to move to item number 15, which is the second opinion proposal for BCHS tennis court fencing.
We're going to substitute.
There you go.
That's okay. Dr. Cash asked me to take a look, and I think there's 2 issues that are kind of prevailing. One is the structural issue with the fence itself, and the second is, has it done any damage that's irreversible? So with that, we sought out, there's actually 2 proposals. One we have in hand. I think it's on the agenda tonight. There's a second that we do not have in hand yet. But the proposal that you have in hand that's on the agenda tonight is from the civil engineer of record who designed this. These poles are embedded in the asphalt and subbase of his design. And so he's really the one to speak to the integrity of the repair as far as the strength of the poles and how they're embedded going forward. There's a second proposal that we've sought out. We don't have that in hand yet, and I don't know how. If we wait till August or if we can ask for executive approval, I don't know. But there's a second proposal that we've asked for. And Baseline Sports is one of the preeminent installers of sports facilities around this area. They recommended a particular designer. We have a proposal coming from that designer who can speak to the playing surface itself and to be able to speak to, so we'll have the civil engineer record that can speak to the rigidity of the fencing itself, and then we'll have this designer that understands sports facilities specifically to come in and speak to, is there any damage to the playing surface that's irrevocable? Are we going to have any issues 5-10 years from now? And if there are any issues, how do we repair those now? while it's under warranty on the subcontractor's dime. So there would be two proposals. I think you have one in hand. The second would be the same amount. We would do not to exceed that same amount.
Actually,
Okay.
there was no attachment to that
Okay.
particular agenda item, so we do not have that proposal in front of us.
What I would recommend doing is, and I don't know why that didn't attach, but it was, if I remember the
Was
cost.
it not to exceed $1,000?
Not to exceed $1,000. So the two that are recommended, it would be, and you, if you do it, I would recommend both, because one's looking at the surface, one's looking at the structure of the fencing and the poles, but they would be not to exceed $1,000 on each.
Correct.
And I just have a question for myself, because I know that we put on here Bradley, but it would actually.
Both.
Both. Is it $1,000 for one or $1,000 for each?
$1,000. $1,000 for each of the consultants to make a site visit and make a recommendation.
For both courts is my question.
Yes. Yes, they're not $1,000 per court. It's $1,000 for the service that would feed both courts,
Okay.
or service both courts.
That was just a
That's
question.
correct.
And so that is just for an opinion.
They would.
Not to do any work, it's just for an opinion.
They would review existing conditions, they would listen to Offense's proposed solution, they would weigh in, we agree, we disagree, here's what we recommend going forward. And that gives us the assurance that even though this is warranty work done on the subcontractor's dime, it will give us the assurance that we're not going to have issues 5-10 years from now.
That's the way I would do it. I mean, if you're gonna have an issue, you gotta go with a group that had the warranty, but you also have a consultant to make sure that the people who did the work previously did it accurately, to make sure we don't get ourselves in a mess later on.
Right. So, just, and Madam Chair, for me, one of my questions was, I would actually like the board to see the proposals. And once they've seen the proposals, for us to do an executive sign, so that we could move forward with that, so that when we come back in August,
We'll have
that
results.
the board could have the results and have a discussion about what they wanted to do to move forward. That would be what I would prefer, knowing that it's not going to exceed $1,000, but we are serving both courts for that amount. And I just want to be sure I'm correct on that.
Yes.
If not,
That is, and I've spoken with both, that is, they are looking at both locations.
Okay.
And the recommendation will be made at both locations for that service.
But the work will not be done this summer.
no, sir. Anything that would be done would have to be after it came back to the board. Because you want to hear what your consultant said before you can move forward. That would just be my preference, but the board can make a decision on that.
But it will be done before tennis season next year.
Yes. Yes, ma'am.
In lieu of the executive approval, would it be possible to go ahead and just approve the consultants for up to $1,000?
Yes, if that's the way the board wanted to go, but I would want to send, as soon as we get the proposals in, send them to y'all.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Is it possible to get the original company to reimburse us, since it's under warranty anyways? We're having to get somebody to come and consult it.
Can certainly have that conversation.
We can talk to them.
But that is our request that we do that, so
Yes, ma'am.
so they could, I guess, if they wanted to.
And I would do it as a reimbursement, not as having them pay for a consultant. That consultant needs to speak to us.
That's what I would recommend that
A fiduciary, they need to be a fiduciary to the district.
Madam Chair? But I'd also like that they're not under any obligation to do that. That is the board's request, so I don't think if there's anything wrong with pursuing it, but I just want the board to know they're under no obligation to do that.
I feel like it's an inconvenience for us to have to do that because of the problems we're having. So they should be considerate of that. That's the reason why I'm asking.
Yes, ma'am. Heard.
Were you asking?
It would be my preference. I don't have a problem with approving this, however, I would like to put my eyes on it before I vote to move forward with it. But once I I see it, put my eyes on it, I don't believe I'll have an issue moving forward and letting them do that. But I don't necessarily feel comfortable voting for that tonight without seeing it. But
Let me clarify, without seeing the proposals, both
Yes.
proposals, yes.
just to make sure that all of the things that we're discussing is correct.
Yes.
Yes.
Hopefully it'll be fresh on the mind. We're supposed to get the other proposal tomorrow.
Okay.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
So I just want to be clear that if we're requesting a motion, the motion would be to approve up to $1,000, but not to move forward until the board has reviewed them.
Yes, I was just wanting to approve.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, and that's all I was going to do is approve the money, so that it's reserved or set aside in that budget.
Sure. I don't have an issue with that.
We got a great plan.
So does anyone want to make a motion?
So is that a motion, Josh?
Oh.
I'll make a motion to approve the plans that we shared today about getting a consultant to look at the work by our company and the $1,000 upon our approval by the work that they have done. Is that what we're asking? I'm saying like I feel redundant.
Yeah, may I? So, Ms. Lovigood, in referencing what Josh, you may want to, or Mr. Taylor, you may want to rephrase that, but what Josh, I believe, was saying is we approve the spending of up to $1,000
Each.
for the proposal, and then once we get them, we'll send those to y'all. If no one has a problem with it, we would then engage with them.
Ditto what she just said. You make that proposal.
Okay. So since we didn't have a second on Dr. Lovingood's motion, do you want to rephrase the motion?
Yeah, so I will rephrase the motion in that we will approve up to $1,000 each for the consultants to come in and look, with the final approval being after we see the proposals.
And I second that, Ralph.
We've got a motion by Mr. Taylor and a second by Dr. Lovingood. Are there any other discussions? No. Will you call the roll?
Yes, Dr. Lovingood?
Yes.
Ms. Stowens?
Yes.
Mr. Taylor?
Yes.
Ms. Lee?
Yes.
Mr. Bryson?
Yes.
Ms. Beatty?
Yes.
Ms. Cason?
Yes.
7 yes, 0 no, motion passes.
And Dr. Cash,
Yes, sir.
we had a tennis player at Walker Valley that did well.
Oh, yes, we did. Thank you. Would you like to share that, or would you like?
No, you know better.
So, we have our own Ms. Inslee, who went to the States from Walker Valley, and she finished third? Second. She finished second in the state, and she is a rising senior. So let's talk about high expectations. I sent word to her that I'm sure next year she will be number one. Yeah. But she did a great job. She represented us well, and I can tell you that again, she sent me a message. She emailed me, maybe an email or text, I'm not sure, just thanking me for asking about her, and that she was just humbled by the number of people that were supporting her. So again, thank you, Mr. Bryson, for remembering that. She certainly did. She showed out, and she did well. Thank you. And I believe that she is one that is now doing private lessons from us for some other students of ours who want to follow in her footsteps. So that's great. Thank you.
All right. Then moving on, going back to item number 9. It is 2023 Fund 177 budget revised. Ms. Wilson.
Thank you. Good evening. All three of the items that I'm on for tonight are basically what I would call housekeeping procedures that are really just required by our auditors. So we'll start with the first one. But the 177 budget revised for this year. And without getting too deep in the weeds, you guys will probably remember the fact that 177 doesn't normally require a budget at all. And the only reason that we started having to do that is because when we started raising revenue from leases and other items, then our auditors required a budget okay? So it's already a little bit out of the box. So when you do year end, 177 is really not ever supposed to have a fund balance because it's a short-term fund. So what happens is in May, when we present the budget, which we did last May for 2023, we estimated what we thought that was going to look like at the end of the year. We have never gone back and changed a budget after the fact. It just rolls into fund balance. But for 177, because it is such a strange document, the auditors just asked us to go back after July 1 of last year when it actually rolled. And we're no longer dealing with what we think is going to happen. We actually knew what was going to happen. It had already happened. So they asked us to go back and change the budget document to reflect the actual number. That is very different from anything that we do for any other fund. We will also be doing that again after we do year end this year. And then we're hoping that 177 will be closed out and we won't be dealing with that again. Even if we do another project, which I'm sure we will, in normal circumstances, those projects do not have revenue. So we would probably never deal with this situation again, if that makes sense. So we're just really cleaning that up for the auditors, and something we've never been asked to do before and hopefully never will again. But that's what that is. It's just a document update.
Does anyone have any questions for Ms. Wilcott?
I have one question. I had just noticed, this was what we looked at in May.
No, actually it would have been last May.
Okay.
This is actually finishing up what they want us to do for this budget year, not next budget year.
Okay, so.
So this is FY23, that they wanted a change to reflect what the fund balance actually looked like July 1 last year.
Okay, so that 570,926, and on this one it was 439,852. That's not the same number, but it's 2 different years.
Yes. That is correct.
Okay.
Yeah, and we had amended that money back in so that we could use it, but like I said, we've never been asked to change a previous year budget because we're sending that budget out in April, and we're guesstimating what's going to happen in April, May, and June. And it doesn't really matter in 141 because if our revenues come in high and our expenses come in low, that just gives us an extra fund balance. But for this particular fund, they wanted us to go back and substitute what we guesstimated with the actual once it happened. And we will be doing an amendment or this same type thing after we roll it again. I know that's clear as mud. I get it. Ellen actually talked to the auditors, and she had to tell me 3 or 4 times before I was like, okay, that makes no sense. So I get it. But that's the best I can explain to Mr.
The
Taylor.
570 was the estimated, and the 439 was the actual.
That was the additional.
The 439 is for this year, the 579 is fiscal year '24. So they're 2 different years. 2 different years you're looking at.
Okay, well, that just said 22, 23 at the top of it. I just.
Yeah, I think
It may
that's.
just be a misprint on there.
Well, yes, because this fiscal year is 22, 23. The 579 is for fiscal year 23, 24.
Okay. Okay.
Are there any more questions? If not, do I have a motion to approve Fund 177 revised budget?
Make a motion to approve fiscal year 2023 Fund 177.
I'll second.
I've got a motion and a second. Are there any more discussions? If not, Miranda, will you please call the roll?
Yes, Ms. Beatty?
Yes.
Ms. Jason?
Yes.
Mr. Bryson?
Yes.
Ms. Lee?
Yes.
Mr. Taylor?
Yes.
Ms. Goins?
Yes.
6 yes, 0 no, motion passes.
All right, the next item is 2024 Fund 142 Federal School Projects Summary Budget.
Yeah, that's a mouthful, isn't it? And that's a lot to do as well. Again, this is one of those things that for this board, it's not going to give you much information. It's where we roll all of those federal projects into one document because the audit requires us to. and it actually goes to the board. It doesn't even go to the commission for approval. And I think the basic reason for that is everything goes into E-Plan first, okay? Well, that's already been approved. And the state actually administers the federal money. So you get a budget approved first, and that's where all those numbers come from. And then we hard key this because it's not happened yet, still not happened yet. But it's already approved in E-Plan. On top of that, everything is a reimbursement. So when we are spending those federal dollars and we send in those reimbursement requests, then they're double checking everything in that budget to make sure that it's all accurate and that it's not overspent and that it came out of the line you said it was going to come out of, or the line that they said it's going to come out of, if that makes sense. So I think the reason for this is just to basically give you a very high oversight of that. But if you want details, we're going to need to print you out probably the documents from E-Plan, because that's really the gospel of all of that. That's going to tell you anything you need to know about what we're doing with it. This is just like a big old summary page that we have to do to meet audit requirement.
Are there any questions?
Madam Chair, I just want to clarify that these are federal funds, and they actually tell us what we can and can't do in those line items. We don't have a lot of wiggle room. We present what we think. It often comes back to us where we have to do what they tell us to do in order to even receive the money, but these are the operations of federal, so it is approved by, the federal funds come to the state level, and the state level disperses it to the districts. So we don't have a tremendous amount of control over what they say we can and cannot do.
And what you're getting ready to approve on the, or I hope you will approve on the next one, it goes hand in hand with that, because any adjustment that they make to the budget, they have to go in and change it before we can file a reimbursement for it. Sometimes they will actually file an amendment, and when I go down to draw down the funds, it will error out on a particular line. And it's because they've not hit the button to approve the budget amendment yet. So there is so much oversight at the state level. We're monitored on that, but they look at every reimbursement that we request. Very different from general purpose.
Right. Do I have a motion to approve Fund 142 Federal Schools Project Summary?
I make a motion to approve the Federal Fund 142.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Are there any more discussions? If not, Miranda, will you please call the roll?
Ms. Payson?
Yes.
Ms. Goins?
Yes.
Mr. Bryson?
Yes.
Mr. Taylor?
Yes.
Ms. Lee?
Yes.
Ms. Beatty?
Yes.
6 yes, 0 no, motion passes.
Thank you. The next item is 2023 Fund 142 Federal Summary Budget Amendment.
So now we're jumping back into this year. So right now it's like playing cards. You've got about 3 budget years going at the same time. But this is basically the same thing what I was just explaining to you, is that any adjustment, and sometimes those adjustments actually have nothing to do with us requesting a change. For instance, there are some grants that if they're not spent, they'll redistribute them. And that's one reason it's so important for us to not have to go to the commission with these last-minute adjustments, because sometimes the state generates that, and we don't even know about it until this time of year, and all of those processes have already passed. So that's why you get this summary on all the amendments, because it's the same basic thing that I just told you about the budget. They are working so closely with our project directors, but a lot of it, I won't say a lot of it, this time of year, there are times when the state actually changes our budget for us. It's usually to give us money, but we still have no way to get it amended. So it's not a bad thing normally, but it's just not always coming from our recommendation. Sometimes it's from them.
All right. Are there any questions? If not, do I have a motion to approve Fund 142 Federal Summary Budget Amendment?
I make a motion to approve the amendment for the 2023-142 federal summary budget.
Second.
All right, got a motion and a second. Any more discussions? Miranda, will you please call the roll?
Yes, Mr. Taylor?
Yes.
Ms. Owens?
Yes.
Ms. Lee?
Yes.
Ms. Beatty?
Yes.
Ms. Cason?
Yes.
Mr. Bryson?
Yes.
6 yes, 0 no, motion passes.
Thank you very much.
The next item on the agenda is the consolidated application approval for IDEA and ESEA. Ms. Terry Murray.
Y'all just thought you were rid of me, didn't you?
I didn't recognize you with your new haircut.
This budget comes to you because, and I have to bring it, or Dana now brings it to you, because it's part of the auditing and the monitoring for our particular program. So I'm just asking you to approve the consolidated budget for the upcoming school year.
Right, are there any questions for Ms. Murray? If not, do I have a motion to approve the consolidated application for IDEA and ESEA?
I'll make a motion to approve the budget.
Have a motion and a second by Mrs. Cason. Any more discussions? Miranda, please call the roll.
Ms. Owens?
Yes.
Mr. Bryson?
Yes.
Mr. Taylor?
Yes.
Ms. Lee?
Yes.
Ms. Beatty?
Yes.
Ms. Cason?
Yes.
6 yes, 0 no, motion passes.
Thank you. The next item is the summer capital outlay executive approval authorization. I guess it will be, yeah.
So I am requesting that that this board approve executive approval for the summer capital outlay projects. You've already approved the funding and the project, but as we move through the summer trying to get all of these done, it comes pretty fast and furious, and this just allows us to move forward without any interruptions, knowing that you've already approved the funding, you've already approved the projects, but this allows us when we're doing bids and we look for our best and our lowest, and then we move on. And just as a reminder, if it doesn't go over 25,000, we actually are not required to get bids, but we do request from our principals that they have quotes, so that we can do that. And that is just my request, Madam Chair.
Okay. Are there any questions or discussions?
Is this not what was done in the past?
Yes, sir, we've always done this, but it does have to come before the board for y'all to have me move forward with it.
This is not something new you're asking?
No, sir, there's nothing new. You know, as always, when we are doing the bids, I have no problem asking Ms. Refner to send y'all the material, but we just need to be able to move forward and not stop progress. And again, this is not something that you haven't already approved. You've approved the funding and you've approved the projects.
Are there any more questions?
So is this something that when we see it in the email, that we can just respond back to that email that we're okay with these? And if we've got a question or something on it, then it's something we can pull and bring it into the meeting if there is questions on it?
Well, again, Mr. Taylor, that would drastically slow down the process because we really try to get as many projects done. We try to get as many projects done in the summer as we possibly can, and it moves relatively fast. It's like we get the quotes, we get a date set and we get them started because we don't have a tremendous amount of time in there before school starts. So knowing that the projects have already been approved and the funding is already there, I would send you the notices of these were the bids, this is the one that was approved, but we really need to push forward on the projects.
But we would still be able to okay it through the email, or state that we had a question on there and bring that for discussion, even if we have to have a special call meeting. I mean, I understand the time constraints on there, but I just want to make sure that we're fulfilling our duties as board members to make sure that we're.
Yes, sir. Well, that would be a decision made by the board, but I want to state again, you've approved the funding and you've approved the projects, and we always look for the lowest and best bids, but that would be a decision made by the board.
Okay, was this not in the capital outlay that we approved last month?
Yes, ma'am.
So, okay, with the amounts?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
We try to save as much money as we possibly can.
Sure.
So what are you asking if it's already been approved? What are you asking of the board?
When the bids come through, I have to have approval of the bids, if that makes sense.
And who's going to approve those if we don't?
Executive.
Executive,
Okay.
yeah.
Is it possible for the board to approve those through the email?
We've done that in the past, haven't we?
Yeah, I'm just thinking like with the fence project.
Yes, I mean, it's whatever the pleasure of the board is. I mean, if the board wants them to be emailed out to everyone, it can be. The only issue is we would have to respond very quickly back to her so that we're not holding up any processes of getting the job done before
I think
school
email,
starts back.
everybody checks it pretty regularly and it seems to go pretty fast. I don't think that should be a major holdup.
I think that if we do that, then the motion, if someone makes the motion, I recommend that it be within a timeframe. That you must respond within 24 hours or what? I don't know, what, Dr. Cash? I mean, because the turnaround is really pretty quick, guys.
But they're usually going to start the job the same day that you get the bids. So even if we done it within 24 hours, I don't think that would delay it.
Madam Chair, we actually typically say by the same day that they're sent out so that we can go ahead and move forward, because you saw the list of projects, and remember, they won't all have bids. But the ones that have bids, they're the toughest to actually get moving.
Well, if we could do it even by the close of business that day. I think Miranda's done that for us before.
Okay, so you're talking about only the ones with bids, because
yes,
there are things in the capital outlay that will have quotes, and like I said, we've already approved the funding, and we've already in the budget, so it would only be, you're only talking, Mr. Taylor, about the bids.
Yes.
And that's those big ticket items.
Yes.
Yeah.
Let's vote.
We gotta have a motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve Dr. Cash's, the money, the way it's been done in the past. That's what I'm about,
I second that motion.
I just want to clarify, because I may have a substitute motion, is just to make sure that we're going to do this the same way that we have, so that we will see these quotes and we will make the approval on that quote in the same business day via email before the project starts.
That's not what my motion was.
Okay, that's not.
So
So I would like to state that in the form of a substitute motion.
Okay, will you restate your substitute motion?
Yes, that we still move forward with the projects, but we do so with the approval of the board via email on the same day that the quotes, that the approval is requested.
I'll second that.
Okay, so we've got a motion and a substitute motion and a second to move forward. I'm just clarifying to make sure I understand that anything we receive bids on, that Miranda will send out to the board, and the board will respond by the close of the same business day that they're sent out to move forward on those that have bids.
My question is, if there is not a response from a board member by the end of the business day,
Then
what happens?
I think that would be assumed as a yes, that they're willing to approve, to move forward with whatever that recommendation is. I'm thinking back specifically, and I don't want to get into the weeds on this, but on the fence project, there was one quote come in, it was relatively high. The board didn't approve it via that email, so we requested some other bids, and we ended up saving around $40,000 on that. I just want to allow us an opportunity to see that and do that same kind of thing.
Dr. Cash, when you look at the bid, are you not trying to save as much money?
Oh, yeah.
Yes, sir, we are. And again, we have to go through the bid process if it's over that amount, if it's over that 25,000. And we are trying to get, a minimum of 3. We don't always get a minimum of 3. and just being sure that we do what we need to do to move forward and get the projects done within the expected amount that the board has approved.
Okay, I have a question. Then is this mainly for awareness, for us to be aware? Because you already have approval to do these.
And
So you don't really have to wait on our vote on these bids. Is that correct?
It depends on how the board votes.
John says you do.
It depends on how the board votes.
She does.
Okay. So I'm having a real problem with it because we've always in the past, you've done it, you've handled it. And if we have questions or an awareness, Miranda can send it out to us. But I have a problem with us voting on every bid when it's already in the budget for you to handle it.
Yes, ma'am.
Madam Chair, is this the way that we have been doing these last few projects that were in between meetings and things that you were sending out, and you requested either a yes or no via each board member before it proceeded?
No, sir, but if I'm not mistaken, Dr. Cash, those items, I do not believe those items were items that were previously approved in the capital outlay budget. For instance, the fence was an issue that came up as an emergency type situation. So it was not included in the budget, as was I think it was some work at Hopewell.
Yes.
Was some other things that we had to pull some money for. So those items were not part of the capital outlay. So that's why we sent those out.
Well, I'd like to clarify, this isn't because I don't feel like that Dr. Cash is trying to save money, and I'm by no means trying to slow the process down. I just want to make sure that we're all fulfilling our responsibility, that we're all putting a set of eyes on this, and we're making the best possible use of taxpayer dollars and the best possible use of our time all as well.
We have already approved the amount of money to be spent.
Up to,
Yeah. I think we need to vote.
Are these projects, Chuck, is this not, most of these you will be handling?
Yes.
So it's things like paving and roofing and things like that that we've already decided we need to have done. You all get the bids on them, and then you and Dr. Cash look at what's the best thing for us to do, like we've done in the past.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now that, I was just getting a clarification for my benefit. Thank you.
All right. So right now we're going to vote on the substitute motion by Mr. Taylor that will require all of the bids to be sent out to the board to be responded
the same day.
by the close of the business day. All right. Miranda, will you please call the roll?
Yes, Mr. Bryson?
No.
Ms. Goins?
Yes.
Ms. Kaysen?
No.
Ms. Beatty?
No.
Ms. Lee?
No.
Mr. Taylor?
Yes.
Two yes, 4 no, motion fails.
Okay, so now we will go back and vote on Mr. Bryson's original motion, which is to clarify, is that we will still be sent out every bid that is received. However, since we have already approved the capital outlay budget and the money, the quotes that were stated in those.
Okay, and if in those quotes, we got so much money there. If there's not they're higher than that. You gotta bring, you'd have to come towards it. 'Cause you don't have the money.
But this motion will be giving her the authority to go ahead and do that, correct? Because it's executive approval. I mean, I know it's hypothetical.
No,
but-
I could not exceed the amount that the board had approved.
No. If the bid exceeds the amount we approved in the capital outlay budget, it would have to come back before the board. So the amounts that we approved in the capital outlay already,
It won't exceed.
it cannot exceed that. It would have to come back before the board.
The motion is just to give approval for executive authorization. Is that correct?
To not exceed the amount in
that we have already approved in the capital outlay for those particular projects.
Okay.
Okay. All right, Miranda, please call the roll.
Yes, Mr. Bryson?
Yes.
Ms. Goins?
Yes.
Ms. Nancy Casey?
Yes.
Ms. Beatty?
Yes.
Ms. Lee?
Yes.
Mr. Taylor?
Yes.
6 yes, 0 no, motion passes.
All right. The next item on the agenda is the annual agenda and board calendar.
Yes, Madam Chair, this is the annual approval of the board calendar, and just wanted to point out that in your calendar, there are some different dates that have been, so if you will scroll, just know that the October board meeting, we have recommended moving to the third week of October due to fall break, and November board meeting was moved to the close proximity of, because it was in such close proximity of moving to October, moved it to Tuesday, as the board will be out of town on Thursday, and then
Which
the
one was that?
November. And then the March board meeting was moved to the first Thursday of March due to spring break. So due to the breaks in the school calendar, they don't all fall on that Thursday. We're recommending that they be moved. Again, if you look, October board meeting was moved to the third week, and the November board meeting was moved down to November 14th, because we've got Thanksgiving break, and then October was in there, and then recommending that we move the March board meeting to the first Thursday of March due to spring break. The rest of them are in line with that typical first Thursday of the month. Am I right? First or second Thursday? Second Thursday of the month.
So the November meeting, is that one being moved, it says because the board will be out of town, is that because?
Yeah.
TSBA.
TSBA.
Okay, that's my question. Okay, and then the first page is just, basically, we've not changed anything on when we do those particular.
Yeah, the only thing we did was, if you notice that, and I think it's see here, tenure is the same, Miss Kristen, tenure.
What month is it?
November.
No, we need to do that in February.
That's what I thought. So we would move that, just a recommendation to make a change on this, to move the tenure to February. We typically don't get our scores back in time.
What, we're moving now?
The only thing you're doing is moving your item. Your item for tenure will be moved to February.
So we're going to move tenure recommendations from November
to February.
Okay.
So with the notice of the move of those and adding tenure from November to February, I present this board in asking for a motion for approval.
I'd like to make a motion to approve this calendar based upon Dr. Cash's recommendation of moving tenure from November to February, and with the other changes as well.
All right. I've got a motion and a second. Are there any more discussions? If not, Miranda, will you please call the roll?
Yes, Mr. Taylor?
Yes.
Ms. Lee?
Yes.
Ms. Beatty?
Yes.
Ms. Kaysen?
Yes.
Ms. Goins?
Yes.
Mr. Bryson?
Yes.
6 yes, 0 no, motion passes.
The next item on the agenda is announcements. On July the 31st, we will have our joint Bradley County Public Education Foundation Board meeting. You guys have probably received an email about that from Ms. Lynn Bulls. And then on August the 10th will be our next regular board meeting. Are there any other announcements?
Can I ask a question? I guess it's a question. So I noticed that Corbett Drew's contract's not on the agenda tonight, and his contract ends at the end of the month. At our last meeting, it was discussed in length by Mr. Taylor, Dr. Cash, and Susan about his salary being included in the budget, but it was contingent on if we extended it by the board. We've not voted on that yet.
Madam Chair? when we looked at the contract and we met with the board, and that was in the board, that was actually in the board documents. As we went through the board, we met with the board, we did a work session, and then we had it, all of those were brought out, and then, so when the board approved the budget, knowing that that was in there, the contract is only good for 1 year. The state of Tennessee allows the director of schools to move forward as long as the money has been budgeted. If it were outside of a year, it would have to come back before the board for an individual, but because it was built into the budget with notification to the board that that was part of the budget, that was approved when y'all approved the full budget.
We could still vote on it though.
But,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, what?
We can still vote on
We can
it.
still vote on it. Tonight, if you.
Well, I mean, I guess my question is, if you knew that you could do that if it was a year, then why did we even discuss it in length last meeting? I'm just asking. I mean, because it was contingent on whether or not we extended it from the board.
I think somebody brought it up, didn't they?
I think the reason, yes, I think the reason it had to be brought up was because his contract was good through June the 30th. So if we didn't put the money in the budget for July 1st.
I understand all that. I understand all that. But it was directly asked by Mr. Taylor. It was, is this his budget contingent on us approving? Susan Wolcott says the contract being extended by the board. It's only contingent if we extend it by the board.
Right, and if we wouldn't have put the money in the budget for his contract to be extended, then it would not be extended.
Doesn't matter.
So,
Okay.
So when we put the money in the budget and approve the budget, then that allows her to extend
But
his contract.
he also asked that if we didn't extend the contract, what would happen to that money? And she said it would just fall back to something else. So that's, I guess that's why I'm asking. We discussed it in length.
But it would fall back.
It would go, just that money would be allocated somewhere else.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah,
I'll make a
It starts at
motion
9 minutes on the
I'll make a
5:10
motion that
meeting
we vote
agenda.
On officially endorsing the contract, or accepting the contract as part of it, and the board members have a vote on it. How they gonna-
Well, I don't think that's on it's not on this agenda, so we would have to put it on next month's agenda, or the next agenda.
You put it on the agenda today.
It's not on this agenda, so we didn't approve that to be voted on tonight.
So we can't do it, Eddie.
Well, I'll make a motion, we put it on the next meeting.
Well, we can definitely put it on the next meeting. Yes.
Sell it,
I really believe it's a misunderstanding
Yeah.
because Dr. Cash really does not need our approval. But I understand if we want to do that. So my understanding was, yes, if it was included in the budget and we approved the budget, then we were approving his contract.
I can assure you that is not what was said in the last meeting, because I actually watched it today, because when I got the
watched it also.
agenda, I'm like, well, why isn't his contract on here? Because we said it would have to be approved before June 30th. This is the only meeting we have in June. So if you're telling us that you don't need us as a board to approve that, then just say that. But that is not what we discussed last meeting. That is not what was said.
But my understanding of the last meeting is different from yours,
Okay.
Ms. Gomes. So that's all I'm saying.
Well, quote my friend Jerry Fraser in the past, a person that does his job can it saves the county probably millions. And we would have saved, my opinion, I've talked to somebody that said we could have saved 2 or 3 million, possibly at Lake Forest if we'd had it. And I think it's in there, but
I think the easy vote, yes, if there was a vote.
Yeah.
I mean, we could put it on the next agenda.
I made a motion and we put it on there, so Baker not second it.
I
Or
said-
do we have to, we don't have to have a motion.
Well, we've already approved the budget, or we've already approved the agenda. If you would have requested for it to be put on there at the beginning
Next
of the
time?
meeting, then we could
Wait
have put
just
it
a
on
minute,
this.
wait just a minute, let me read this right here. This says, agenda items for the next board meeting.
Yes, you can put it on for the next board
That's what I
meeting.
mean.
Okay.
And Rachel, whether you agree with her or not, has a right to her opinion, and anybody else does.
So Rachel is really, Ms. Goins, I'm sorry, is really requesting it for the next board meeting, because it wasn't on this agenda.
Correct.
Okay.
All right, are there any other items for the next board meeting? If not, then we're adjourned.